What's poppin'? Have you seen this before? This is the Rotten Tomatoes score for Illumination's Super Mario Bros. Movie. It ranks as rotten, meaning the reviews are less positive and below 60%. But then take a look at the audience reviews, and most are pretty positive, and the score is significantly much higher. Why is that? Well, this is nothing new. For years, the division between casual audiences and critics has grown substantially, to the point where there's a strong distaste of the critics because of their choices in rating films. Star Wars: The Last Jedi is another prime example of this division, only this time the positions are reversed. As most Star Wars fans agree that The Last Jedi was disappointing and not a great Star Wars film, whereas the critics praise it. There are countless examples of movies considered bad by casual audiences and fans that critics adore, and vice versa. But why is this? I mean, surely something as innocent as the Super Mario Bros. Movie wouldn't cause such a divide. And well, it all comes down to how we view the movie. The issue is something as subjective as media is always bound to be taken in differently. No two people view, let's say, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish the same. Despite me really enjoying that movie, I had a lot of comments on one of my videos, some stating they didn't understand all the hype, or outright didn't enjoy it. And of course, it is perfectly acceptable to think so, but this scenario is what truly causes this great divide between the two audiences. Let's use The Last Jedi for an example. Longtime Star Wars fans entered the theaters eager to see the new installment in the Star Wars franchise. After many were interested to see where Rey would take us next, people went into the movie expecting a good deal, as most fans only want to see the series continue holding the same energy that made them fall in love with it. But ultimately, it flopped in their eyes, many considering the character of Luke Skywalker tarnished, and the other characters being uninteresting or distasteful. People left the theater with a new, more profound dislike for Star Wars, worried in the direction that the last chapter would end up going, and they were right to be worried.
We've decoded the intel from the First Order spy, and it confirms the worst. Somehow Palpatine returned.
Hundreds of thousands took to Rotten Tomatoes, leaving their score, and most being pretty negative. As fans of the series, to see in their opinion Star Wars fall so far from where they wanted to be, they took to bashing this movie. Keep that in mind. The audience who went to see this were majority Star Wars fans. Definitely some new Star Wars fans too, but I would argue more longtime viewers showed. Now, looking at the critics, they view movies as a whole different thing. Taking a look at The Last Jedi, they view it with a lot more in mind than just continuing the Star Wars legacy and keeping Luke's character on track. They measure things like cinematography, acting, overall message, and artistic flair, and tend to find their own interpretation of the film. And the truth is, they aren't biased. I'm certain many of them entering the theater to watch this movie aren't necessarily Star Wars fans. They are simply scratching off another movie from their roster. Keeping that in mind, remember how I said the audience for The Last Jedi was primarily long-term Star Wars fans? Well, that kind of adds up now, doesn't it? Star Wars fans are destined to be more biased in what they want from a Star Wars film. They have grown up with these characters and want the story they fell in love with to be just as good as they remember. Critics enter the theater blind, judging the movie from multiple standpoints. Casual audiences go into a movie they want to see, or fans of, not really looking for all the things that the critics are, and typically are easier to please, and also easier to displease when they are let down by something they are fans of. Now, I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way to view a movie. The issue with something like a movie is just how subjective it is. No amount of criticizing or rating can ever translate directly to the next person. Everyone views a movie differently, and not everyone likes the same things. Just like music taste, some people look at country music and are repulsed. Others put on their jeans and giant Texan hats and boogie down to that stuff. That's just how it is. Now, I think one thing I strongly disagree on from Rotten Tomatoes is just how many reviews they claim is needed in order for a score to be determined. According to the official website, they only require a total of 5 reviews, and from then on they can calculate a score. 5 reviews feels way too little to determine any score, especially once it gets plastered and people go to check what the critics have to say. That score can make or break whether some people go to see the movie or not. I feel like something in the double digits would be a lot more suitable to start ranking a score than just 5 reviews. Especially when it comes down to huge blockbusters, I don't think 5 reviews is enough to feel justified. But back to the main topic, I think it's okay to view the movie either way. Whether you want to be more critical and see it artistically or just want to shut your brain off and enjoy it for what it is, both are totally fine. Of course, though, the division is certainly an eyesore, especially in the case of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which, although being a fun kids film, is appalling to critics. And look, I understand why, especially if you aren't a fan of the series. In the case of the Mario Bros. Movie, it was certainly made for the fans by huge fans of the game. Beyond that, it's easy to tell the critics weren't going to like that. Even on this channel, when I ranked it, I was certainly very biased, because I love the Mario franchise, and it's hard for me to really bash it. Of course, not everything about the movie was great. It's certainly no Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. But as a huge Super Mario fan, I was able to look over most of it and enjoy the movie for really what it was, a Super Mario movie. That's it. I tend to not look at reviews until I myself go to see the movie, because their experiences, whether a critic or a fan, aren't going to be the same as mine. After I see it, then it's fair game, but until then, I prefer to go blind without any outside influence. I would recommend doing something similar so you can fully embrace the movie how you want to see it, but of course some people like looking at reviews, and that determines if they see it or not. And hey, as long as you aren't one of those people who like to be spoiled, then we chill. But now you know about the eternal divide between critics and fans. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'm sorry I haven't been posting as much. A lot of work has been coming up, so yeah. But if you enjoyed hearing my spiel, then consider subscribing. I'll catch you all later. Oh hey, Spider-Verse Discord just came out. Can't wait to see the drastic difference. Well, the past 6 minutes have been pointless.